Welcome back to another video, guys. We have some big news here when it comes to the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. It's been pretty quiet over the last couple of weeks as we are waiting for Microsoft and Xbox and the CMA to come to some sort of agreement to get the deal passed within the UK. But there is another country here that hadn't made their final decision yet, and they had kept on pushing it off and delaying the date for them to make the decision. And it's finally come through here, and it is New Zealand who have officially approved the Microsoft Activision Blizzard acquisition. We can see here that they put out their statement in their case register. It says that the commission has granted clearance for Microsoft to acquire 100% of the common stock of Activision Blizzard as part of a global transaction. You can see down here in the outcome, merger cleared. So there it is. New Zealand is another country that can be added to the list of approvals for the Xbox Activision Blizzard acquisition. We know that they've been the FTC in court and they are still working with the CMA. The CMA right now probably is sitting there thinking that they look really foolish for blocking this deal and having to go through the appeals process and everything, with every other country either approving it or, like I said, getting defeated by Xbox, Microsoft, which the FTC was. So I have a feeling we will be hearing about a decision, an approval, an agreement from the CMA sooner rather than later, probably before that August 29th date that they said that they were going to be pushing the deadline to make a decision. So I think at the end of the day, all of this is looking up. The deal is going to be closed. The deal is going to go through. Now it's just a matter of time of waiting for these commissions, for these regulatory bodies to, I guess, waste more people's time before they eventually do come to the decision. I mean, Xbox has done everything that they can. They've won in court. They've made deals. They've made cloud deals with Sony, with Nvidia, with Nintendo, specifically Nintendo. They're putting Call of Duty back on that platform, all of this type of stuff. All of these remedies that they've offered up, and it's now just a matter of time before the deal closes and officially we can start expecting Activision Blizzard games on Game Pass and as first-party Xbox games. Now let's jump over here to Square Enix. All right, guys, before we continue this video, we have to stop here and talk about Magic Spoon. If you know me, I love my video games, but I also love my cereals. Always looking for new cereals to try. And when Magic Spoon reached out, I jumped on the chance. One of the things as I'm getting older is trying to find cereals with less sugar, and Magic Spoon comes in here to have multiple different flavors, all with 0 grams of sugar, all high in protein as well, with about 13 to 14 grams of protein and about 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. So it's a delicious cereal, high quality, no artificial ingredients. My favorite flavor right now is the fruity flavor, but you can see here in the back, there's 4 different flavors that I got sent in the variety pack. You have frosted, you have cocoa, you have peanut butter, and then again, my favorite is fruity, which I am eating right now to fill myself up throughout this morning as I'm out here making videos for you guys. So Magic Spoon, highly recommend checking it out. And if you do want to try Magic Spoon, you can use the promo code Plume Network at checkout to get $5 off any order. Go to magicspoon.com/Plume Network. You get $5 off any order, or you can just scan the QR code right now that is on the screen, and the link to the $5 off using my promo code will be in the description below. Again, Magic Spoon, highly recommend it. Go check it out for yourselves. Square Enix and Xbox have had a very interesting relationship. You think back to XO19, where Phil Spencer came out, talked about Final Fantasy games coming over to Xbox Game Pass, and it's really sounded like at that point they were solidifying a great relationship with Square Enix. And then we know what has transpired since then, where they've been pretty rocky. There have been games that have come onto the platform. There have been games that have come on to Xbox Game Pass, like the older Final Fantasy games and stuff. But there have been major games that have missed an Xbox release, specifically Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then just recently Final Fantasy 16, which I think is extremely important for the franchise because it is the latest entry in their mainline games. They're not going to stop putting out new entries into their mainline games. So Final Fantasy 17, 18, 19, 20, and beyond, those need to do extremely well for Square Enix. Now, we know we've seen multiple reports on how Square Enix believes they have done in terms of Final Fantasy 16 and sales. A couple of weeks ago, I talked about it, reported on the report that came out that they were actually quite satisfied with the sales for Final Fantasy 16 on the PlayStation 5 because of the attach rate. With about 40 million PlayStation 5s out there, they were saying that 3 million or so copies sold is actually a good attach rate for them, and they were happy with those numbers. But that's all PR. When they actually have to go out there and talk to the investors and answer to the people that they are essentially working for, the truth comes out. And now we know the Final Fantasy 16 did not do as well as Square Enix expected. We have this report here from Bloomberg, and this all comes during a financial call. We're seeing the Square Enix stock suffer, all that type of stuff. It says here, Square Enix Holdings shares suffered their worst intraday drop in almost 3 years, erasing a little over a year's worth of gains after the company reported a 79% decline in operating profit. Hopes that Final Fantasy 16 would boost sales were dashed by the company's downbeat earnings report Friday, driving the stock down as much as 15% in Tokyo on Monday. Then they go on to talk a little bit more about the stock. They say sales of the latest installments of the long-running role-playing title did not meet the high end of the company's expectations. Square Enix president Takashi Kiryu told analysts on a post-earnings call Friday, according to 3 people who attended. Slow adoption of PlayStation 5 was a limiting factor, Kiryu reportedly said. Now that hardware supply constraints have dissipated, Square Enix plans to take a step to boost sales as more people use the PlayStation 5. A Square Enix spokesperson declined to comment. It says they go on here and they talk about the profitability of the franchise and the fact that the game's latest iteration debuted exclusively for the PlayStation 5, specifically saying the Final Fantasy franchise profitability is weakening and improvements will take time. That's what an analyst says. And they say all subsegments within games were lower than expected. So they're kind of going off the different segments that of games that people are buying, lower than I guess the company was expecting year over year, all of that type of stuff in terms of their financial reports. But this is the reality of what happened with Final Fantasy 16, which a lot of people were saying was going to happen. And that is that they kept it exclusive to a single console. A limited, finite amount of people were going to be able to actually jump in and experience this game. So taking a major release in the mainline Final Fantasy series and limiting it to 40 million people at the maximum possible that could play it, obviously the attach rate is going to be much lower than that. We've seen the numbers already in terms of first party PlayStation 5 games that their attach rate is not a massive percentage. I think maybe it's 12% at the top or something along those lines. It was a bad move in terms of sales. They could have released this on Xbox day one, and they probably would have done a lot better. But even bigger, they should have released this on PC day one, and they probably would have done far more than 3 million in sales. And this earnings call maybe would have been slightly more successful for Takashi Kiryu and the team at Square Enix. So, I mean, this is the truth here. This is the reality. All the other PR stuff we've seen where they say they were okay with the sales, they thought it was good with the attach rate. The reality of what actually happened here is that they didn't meet the high end expectations of what they thought Final Fantasy 16 was going to do. And the major reason for that, in my opinion at least, is that it's because it was a console exclusive to the PlayStation 5, which severely limited the reach and the amount of people that could play this game. Now, with the recent stuff that we've seen with Phil Spencer coming on to the stage and announcing Final Fantasy 14 coming over to Xbox, and this new CEO Takashi Kiryu is coming out here and saying that they're happy to work with Xbox and bring as many games over to the Xbox platform as possible. Basically, if you read in between the lines, saying as long as they don't have any exclusive deals, how big are the bags they're going to be receiving if they get an exclusive offer from PlayStation or something like that. They want to bring over their games to Xbox. We'll see what happens going forward. I have a feeling that Final Fantasy 14 is a big stepping stone to get all of the future Final Fantasy games onto Xbox day one at the same time that they do release on PlayStation 5. And it should be. I mean, you look at Final Fantasy 15 and how that sold faster, which it was a multi-platform release. So right there, you have that comparison that can be looked at going forward. And I'm sure that Square Enix is going to want to continue to do that in the future. Now, let's jump over. Let's talk about this Evo. We know Evo is going on. Evo is the fighting tournament, which is actually a great tournament. I like watching the fighting games in terms of esports, and it is owned by PlayStation now. Evo, they did buy it, but there is one issue here that is going on that the gamers who are in this tournament were complaining about, and that is that the PS5 USB ports were breaking after heavy use. So specifically, it says here, players have been reporting that a part of the PS5 USB ports have been getting stuck in their controllers, with some blaming the excess heat generated by the console. The most common report centered around a blue piece of plastic, which was reportedly detaching from the PS5's USB port and getting stuck into the gap in the controller's USB connector. And competitor SaberAZ claimed on Twitter that Evo is proving that the PlayStation 5 is not the answer. USB ports are melting like cray. Kyoko 236HS's USB on his controller melted, and this is not isolated. So that is a huge issue for a fighting tournament where these guys rely on their controllers. They rely on their fight sticks. They need those. They have to be working in top shape because these are the best of the best in the world going at it, playing these games. And the PlayStation 5 essentially being forced to be used because of the fact that they own Evo with PlayStation and all that type of stuff. They're not going to go out and use any other products, or they're not going to use an Xbox or something like that to play these games. This could cause issues going forward into the future, and it may mean that there is going to be some sort of redesign. I mean, PlayStation will not want to have this. This is pretty bad PR when it is the owner of Evo. They are the main console being used. And this isn't the first time we've really heard about heat issues with the PS5 throughout this generation. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't think there's anything widespread here. This is nothing like, for example, the red ring of death during the Xbox 360. But we've seen reports of the liquid metal dripping through, melting out, and not being as good as they thought it was going to be. Now we are seeing this. We saw stuff with Final Fantasy 16 where the console was just overheating and shut off, and people had to restart their console. And I mean, you look at the design of the PlayStation 5, it is far worse designed than the Xbox Series X, something that kind of kicked off my channel for people to actually start seeing my channel was when they showed off the teardown of the Series X, and then they showed off the teardown of the PlayStation 5, and I did a layman's look at which one I thought was better engineered. And it was pretty obvious, even for somebody like me, even for just any layman looking at this from their computer chair, that the Xbox Series X was a far better designed and engineered console, more powerful in a smaller case. And it looked like the cooling system they had in there was going to be better. And so far right now, it is turning out that it is. And more issues like this are popping up with the PS5, and we'll see what happens. We know they are doing redesigns, and I feel like redesigns of the PS5, a slim version, a pro version, all that stuff is going to be worked out. They've already made multiple iterations of the PlayStation 5 with internals that you can't notice, but obviously cheaper parts in there, reducing down that heat sink that people thought was this magical thing when they showed off the PS5 teardown. They already had changed it and reduced it down. So there are changes to the PS5, and I'm sure some of these things will be solved, but something like this is a big deal, I would say, for a huge tournament where they're relying on these devices to be able to compete and to be able to win. We'll see if anything happens or changes in the future for the tournament. If this is something so widespread that they would maybe have to go to a PC for every single game out there that they are using or something like that. Now, so over here, let's talk about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. It now has officially been announced for November, and this is the team behind Call of Duty, which is Sledgehammer Games. They've confirmed in a very, very brief announcement that it's going to be Modern Warfare 3, and it will be coming November. We already kind of knew this. It was leaked. Everyone had already seen some of the marketing, seen the date, so this isn't a surprise at all. But they're continuing with the Modern Warfare remakes, you could say, from MW1, MW2, and now Modern Warfare 3. I'm pretty excited. I mean, the Modern Warfare series to me is my favorite in the franchise of the Call of Duty games, so seeing these remakes coming out was pretty cool. I wonder how 3 is going to be. I think probably it's going to be very similar to 2, especially because they're allowing you to bring over some of the content that you've purchased, that you have from Modern Warfare 2. So they're not going to be able to change too much up. Obviously, it's going to be a brand new story, a brand new campaign, which have been fun to play over the last couple of years. New maps and probably some different tweaks here for the multiplayer. But it was a very, very short teaser. And this is what everybody can be expecting in the future of the Call of Duty series. What will be even more interesting to me is where they're going to go after Modern Warfare 3 in the following year. Now, when it comes to big games, and one of the biggest publishers in video games, Rockstar, they announced a new $50 port of Red Dead Redemption. And this $50 port is going to be coming over to the Nintendo Switch and the PlayStation 4. But that's not really the interesting part about this. What is the interesting part about this is that this is something that already doesn't need to happen on Xbox. And I think is very telling to the greatness of the backwards compatibility on the Xbox platform. They're bringing out this port, and they say here that on August 17th, the beloved Western experience Red Dead Redemption and its horror companion Undead Nightmare arrived together for the first time on the Nintendo Switch and modern PlayStation systems. Add Red Dead Redemption to your wish list. So basically, $50 comes with the expansion and extra content from the Game of the Year edition. Nothing else that we can really see here that they are adding to it other than just bringing out the game once again. And this was a game that did release on the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3. But if you were on Xbox, on the Xbox One, on the Xbox Series, you could already play Red Dead Redemption because of the greatness of the backwards compatibility. And on top of that, it wasn't just a port, right? The exact same Xbox 360 version you got the additional upgrades from backwards compatibility, which if you go out, look up some videos on YouTube, the game looks significantly better. It looks sort of like a remaster because of the improvement of the resolution, getting all the way upgraded to 4K. It looks great. If you've played the original Red Dead Redemption on the Xbox 360 and you've never checked it out in backwards compatibility form on an Xbox One X, an Xbox Series X, an Xbox Series S, go check it out. You'll see what I mean. It is a big upgrade. But yeah, a lot of people are calling out this re-release for $50 as a complete scam, as they are essentially just giving you the same game and then charging you $50 for it to cash in on people that would want to play it again or haven't played it, or just cash in on the name Red Dead Redemption because of how popular it is, and then Rockstar, all that type of stuff. So we'll see. Obviously this is not something that I would be interested in, not something that people on Xbox would be interested in, because you're going to get probably a better version of this game playing it via the Xbox backwards compatibility. Plus they already say here it's a big increase on the standard Xbox price of $30. So you can go get the game right now on Xbox for $30, and they always go on sale. There's always huge sales on the Xbox platform. But let's end off things here. Let's talk about this. As we know, Xbox Cloud Gaming is a big feature that Xbox is trying to push forward as a way to reach as many people as possible in gaming, get up to 3 billion gamers. And I think obviously with cloud and mobile, that's where a big section of them have to come from if you want to reach 3 billion gamers. But one of the things with Xbox Cloud Gaming right now is that it's still not giving you 4K streaming. And that's something that I think in the future will be coming, but we don't know when. However, we're seeing here now, PlayStation 5 looks to be testing 4K over the internet for their streaming services. It says here, Sony said it was coming, and now it appears to be here. Several gamers say they've been invited to a public beta to test PS5 cloud gaming that streams games up to the PS5 up to 4K resolution. And it says here, we didn't previously know Sony would be streaming at 4K, and it could be a big deal no matter what the 4K actually means. And you can see here the max resolution, if you zoom in under this PlayStation Plus tab for the streaming section, goes up to 2160p. Now, obviously, this is in beta. They're testing it out to see how stable it can be, and if they will decide to roll this out to everybody, or when they will decide to roll this out to anybody. But right now, within PlayStation 5 streaming, you get 720p, 1080p, 1440p, and then up to the 4K resolutions, or at least in this beta program. Now, they also say here that it is not clear whether the 4K max resolution refers to the render resolution, which is the gaming's graphics, or the streaming resolution, which is the actual size of the image beamed to your TV. So something we aren't 100% sure of right now based off of this beta that is going out. But streaming at a 4K resolution obviously helps fix many things in terms of the actual graphics quality, the way it looks, the graininess that some people get when using cloud gaming. Google Stadia was a service that actually had some great resolutions where they offered 4K streaming, but you obviously have to pay extra for it. And obviously Google Stadia closed down. So it's not always just about the resolutions that the output is about the games that are on the service more so than anything. But Google Stadia, for all of its faults, for completely failing at trying to get into the gaming industry via cloud gaming, they did actually have a very good service in terms of the quality of the stream that you were receiving. And I would love to see Xbox get up to a 4K stream at some point, start testing it out, and start rolling it out to people. Because if they really do want to focus on cloud gaming, maybe 4K isn't a priority right now, but it should be in the future as more people want to start using it on their TVs as they roll out Samsung TVs, more Samsung TVs, or more TVs in general that have Xbox Game Pass built in, where you are using cloud gaming. I can understand that playing on your phone, playing on smaller screens is probably some of the most amount of people that actually use cloud gaming. They use these smaller screens. So maybe Xbox is looking at this and thinking, hey, we don't need to push out 4K to these small 7, 8, 9, 10-inch screens. It's not going to make that big of a difference. But in the future, they definitely should be focusing on making sure that their servers can actually support that. And actually, when it comes to Starfield and it comes to Samsung TVs, there was a brand new ad that was put out for all the people out there that are still complaining about Samsung, or that are still complaining about Starfield not advertising. Here's another ad for them. Starfield coming to your screen soon. You can see it here. Starfield being shown off on Samsung TVs. As we know, Xbox has that deal with Samsung for Xbox Cloud Gaming built right into the system. I actually was able to use it. I don't have a Samsung TV, but I was at my friend's house and I used their Samsung TV, and I want to see how Xbox Game Pass works and everything. And it's seamless, right? With the Samsung UI and user interface, seamless in there, works great. I can see this blowing up for sure. I can see a lot of people using Xbox Game Pass on their Samsung smart TVs. In fact, I can see people gravitating towards buying a Samsung smart TV because of the fact it has this feature. My hopes are in the future, if more TVs want to get involved with this, that Xbox starts rolling Xbox Game Pass natively into far more different brands of TVs and pushing it out, because it was sleek, it worked well, and obviously you need a stable internet connection. But this is where 4K streaming is going to be huge. When you're selling these big TVs and you have Game Pass advertised, baked right into it, people are going to want to be able to play these games in 4K. And if they can do it via streaming, I'm sure there's a lot of gamers out there that will use that option. But I'm going to leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Bye.